Moving on, Vampire. This is a drawing I like. This was based off of a. I had a box set of like the Hulk, like DVD. They weren't DVDs. They were like CD-ROMs that had like the Hulk comics and the Hulk games on it. And there's this drawing of the Hulk on the back that I referenced because he looked ripped and huge as fuck, which I thought was cool because I was in like middle school, and so I just recreated it, and like I remember coming back later and shading it in darker because originally it was more like the shading of this hair was a much lighter type of pencil, and I darkened it up to make him look scarier. But Vampire he's a vampire basically. He's based off of like Parasite. If you know Parasite from DC Comics, he fought Superman. Or like Mobius, the vampire in the Spider-Man animated series. But basically, the idea was that he would grab somebody with his hands and absorb their life essence. Whenever he did, he became bigger. So like his default form would be like maybe even like emaciated, like a really skinny looking like a like Nosferatu design, just like the skinny, frail corpse like figure. But then as he gains power, he gets closer to like this. So this is more like full power vampire. And that was the idea with him. He was just somebody that had like this creepy looking face. But you could do a lot with him because like when he's weak and he's desperate and he's like in the alleyways, like lurking in the shadows, and then you just see like this like pedestrian walking home from like their day job, and they just walk by a dark alley and just like. He's like chalky white. This like white claw-like hand reaches out of the darkness and just grabs this person like around the wrist or something, and just like drains their energy away. Scary stuff. And like that was the idea. It was just like take the villain Parasite, who I thought had a terrifying power. He looks stupid. The design for Parasite I thought always looked kind of dumb. But I thought his power was super scary if you applied it to how it would work in real life, where you're just stealing away a person's life energy. And like in a cartoon, maybe they get it back when he's defeated or whatever. But I don't think that was the plan with him. I think this guy was a like serial killer. I think this was a very dangerous, evil person who got exposed to vibranium and it changed him into this way where he kind of needs to feed off of other people. But since he's already kind of crazy and maybe even driven mad, like looking at his face, which is definitely different. I don't know if you can tell. Not only does he have rows of sharp teeth on the top and bottom, but he has another row of sharp teeth along the side of his mouth because his mouth is shaped like a square. I don't know how he bites anything. Maybe he doesn't anymore. Like he feeds through his hands now. So what use does his mouth have besides communicating? But I don't know. I just thought he was a scary looking dude, and that was cool enough for me. Speaking of scary dudes, Venom. What the? Okay, so this guy just looks like Mum-Ra, but I don't think he was meant to be Mum-Ra from Thundercats. I think he was part of the Snake group. I think I had this moment of realization when I was fleshing out the idea of this like Snake organization that like they need more members who have like superpowers or who are like weird snake mutants. And I think I just was having trouble thinking of snake people besides Serpentine and maybe even Spitwad. I don't know. I don't think Spitwad was originally part of that group. I'm not sure. But pretty sure Venom was me trying to make up somebody for that. I'm not positive about that. And I don't know why I named him Venom. There's already a prolific villain in Spider-Man named Venom. Like, obviously this guy looks nothing like the Spider-Man Venom and would have had different powers. It's just weird that I would use that name. I was just looking for snake words, I think, and Venom is a snake word. But yeah, I think that's it. I don't remember. He does look close to how I was just picturing Vampire, though. It's just funny that they ended up next to each other. Because these characters have nothing to do with each other at all, besides the fact that he looks like how I was describing a weakened version of him. This guy's goofier, though. Look how happy he is. He's just happy to be here. He's happy to be in this cloak and be all spooky looking. He loves it. Look at this guy. He's thrilled. He couldn't be happier. But anyway, moving on to Trey. Trey's less happy. Trey had some really cool superpower, and I can't remember what it is now. I realized looking at this, it looks like he has like a sword or something he's resting his hands on, but he's not. He's folding them on empty air like this. And he just has a T on his shirt for Trey. Trey was supposed to be like his teenage villain who was the leader of this other group of villains. I don't know if you recall me mentioning, I had a few who was supposed to be just like punk kids who were kind of working together, like Rave. Rave was a member of the group, I know. And whoever else I mentioned when I was talking about Rave. Just a handful of these like young teenage supervillains who all had themes that are related to either like punk rock or goth or anything in that kind of hot topic-y vein. They were just a bunch of hot topic villains, basically. And Trey was their leader. And I think he had like a weird color scheme to him, but I can't remember what it was. He's got these spooky eyes. I wish I could remember more about him besides the fact that he was supposed to be their leader. Because I know he had a power that I thought was cool at the time. I don't think I wrote it down on the inside here or anything. Yeah, I didn't write anything. So yeah, I don't remember beyond that role what he had going on, but he had some kind of superpower I thought was cool. I'd probably think of something new for him if I was to try making him now. Wave. This doesn't look as good as I remember it. Wave was the water villain in the Elemental collective that I was talking about that would have had Flame and Rocky. Was his name Rocky? We just looked at him, but that sounds dumb. But I guess it was probably Rocky or something like that. And Wave was the water one. And that's kind of it. I don't think... In my head, I remember her being Japanese. I think her name might have been Tsunami at one point, but I changed it to Wave. I don't know why I would have done that. But I think since, well, if she was Japanese, then she was probably meant to be a villain of Henshin's who would later be roped into this collective group of elemental-themed villains. But that's basically it. She's made of water. But like a lot of water. Not just like a person-sized amount of water. She's like a tidal wave that would be hard to stop. And yeah, I don't remember her motives or goals or anything like that. I just remember she was like a big water lady. And that's Wave. Whisper is a character I really liked. This is like a pink highlight here in her hair. So if you remember way back when I was talking about Chester the Jester, and I said he had a lot of children, Whisper is one of his kids. She is the half-sister of Empathy, and she is the one who drove Checkmate mad. If you remember Checkmate, he was a member of the teen superhero group, not the Power Rangers one, but the one that was close to the Teen Titans. He was a member of that group, and Whisper got close to him, and her power is kind of like a whisper. She has the power to kind of push emotions that you're having, kind of manipulate your emotions. She can't outright control them the way her father could. Like Chester the Jester could control people's emotions 100%, which made him super dangerous. Empathy could sense emotions but not control them, and Whisper can just kind of push them. So she got close to Checkmate, became kind of like his secret girlfriend. She didn't meet the rest of the team because Empathy was on the team at the time, so she didn't want to get close to them, or else Empathy would have recognized her because they did know each other. And she wanted to have this really powerful guy, because Checkmate's one of the most powerful characters in this universe. She wanted to have this really powerful guy kind of just like at her beck and call, so she could use him to do like villainous things. And she would do other villainous stuff after this story arc. This was just her main role was that she kept pushing Checkmate's jealousy and pushing him to make him, she thought she was making him more devoted to her, but what she ended up doing was making him just a possessive asshat, and he just snapped and became psychotic from like a lot of manipulation from her. It was basically her realizing the limits of her abilities. And she wouldn't try doing it like that again because it didn't turn out well. Checkmate couldn't be controlled by her or anyone, and became more trouble than he was worth for her as well. But she would eventually go on to do other villainous things. You know, there's a lot of potential when you can push people to have the emotions you want them to have, or as long as they have like a spark of the emotion that you want, you can kind of just feed that spark until it grows, and that's good for manipulating people, which is what she's all about. Oh boy, White Maelstrom. I don't like this character anymore, but basically, he's a Nazi. He's like a Klan member, Southern USA type Nazi, who gets super strength through Viglanium mishap, and is just specifically targets superheroes of color, and eventually, the original story was that he was going to be beaten by Redemption, but I think, first of all, I wouldn't do this story now. I feel way less comfortable with this than I did when I was a teenager. But if I was going to do the story now, I think he would definitely have to be beaten by one of my superheroes who's not white, like Redemption was. Because like a white guy coming in to save all the brown people from the mean white guy is not a story I'm interested in telling anymore. But at the time, I thought it was a good story because I was a teenager, so I didn't know what I was talking about. But that's the idea for him. Yeah, that's it. I don't want to talk about him anymore. Wind Cannon is much better. Wind Cannon has superpowered farts. So I mentioned Redemption, and Redemption storylines were all based off of storylines of The Undertakers. White Maelstrom, in case you're wondering, was Brock Lesnar if Brock Lesnar was super racist for no reason. Anyway, Wind Cannon was going to be part of the DX group that he would face, and he was the replacement for Mr. Ass. My idea was Ass's fart. Here's a guy with super farts, because I thought it was funny. It was based partially off a character from Bobobo. If you guys know that anime, there's a boy in there who can like fart in his hand and throw it like a fireball. And so I thought Wind Cannon could do that, but he could also use it to like fly. You know, he's kind of like Kinnikuman Man, if I'm going to make another goofy anime reference. But like, you know, he wasn't going to have a lot of stories focused around him or anything, because he was just like the comic relief of an already kind of silly group of villains. But yeah, that's Wind Cannon. I was really proud of this name when I came up with it. I was like, that's the perfect, because like the idea is, you know, he doesn't choose to have super farts as a power. He's not like, it fits his personality well enough. You can tell by looking at him, this guy's a bit of a goofball. But he still wants to have a name that sounds intimidating, but also fits his fart-based gimmick. And Wind Cannon is what he came up with. And I thought that made sense, and I liked it. I still like it. I am moving on. Windy is the air-themed character in the Elemental group of villains, along with Wave and Flame and Rocky. If that was his name, I'm still not sure that was his name. This sounds worse. I feel like I would have commented on that when I came across it if that was his name, but I guess it probably was. Yeah. So anyway, Windy, I think, like, just looking at her, she's obviously very heroic looking. I think she was a hero turned villain. I don't remember exactly, but I think that was the case. I also think this was based off of like a picture of maybe Wonder Woman. I don't know. This face looks familiar to me, and not just because I drew it, but I think I referenced it from a comic. But yeah, she has wind-based powers. She can use them to fly, kind of like how Storm flies in the X-Men. But she can also like blow people away with wind and create like tornadoes and things like that. I think I had based her powers, in my head, I thought her powers would work a lot like there was a wind-based character with red hair in the Dark Tournament arc of Yu Yu Hakusho. I think he had an like really bad Irish accent in the English dub. But if you guys know Yu Yu Hakusho, you might remember that character, and that was basically how she was supposed to work. I think she even had red hair too, because that sounds right looking at her. I think she had red hair and then like a green and yellow clothes, because I remember noticing that green and yellow seemed to be the two colors that were used for air in a lot of my video games. Like oftentimes green was earth, but if earth was more brown or a different color, maybe sometimes air was green. and sometimes Air was portrayed as yellow. And I just thought, okay, I'll just use those two colors for outfits. So I think like these parts, the main bulk of it was green, and then she had like yellow highlights for the big. There's a big W that goes down between her legs here and over her boobs, and then she had like yellow gloves and boots and a yellow cape, and bright red hair. And now you know the inspiration for all my design choices with this character. But I still think she was meant to be heroic at first, because she just looks too much like a superhero to me now. And I think I had that same thought at the time, and I was like, well, you know what? Maybe she started out that way, but she eventually joins up with these villains, and that's that. Moving on, Wolfblood. Okay, so I'm gonna have to rewind again. I'm sorry, but just in case you guys don't remember, there was this character Wolfie, who was this like kind of feral teenager that was out in the woods, and I remember he was supposed to be tied to Phantom Phom and the Phantom Kid, and like Phantom Kid I think befriended him, I think was the storyline. I don't know. You guys might remember what I said when I talked about him originally better, but I think that was my plan. Anyway, Wolfblood is the older negative influence that was kind of controlling Wolfie and pushing him into mischief and mayhem that led people to be investigating him in the first place. And he's also got like this wolf, same kind of wolf type powers. I don't remember where their powers or mutation came from. And I don't remember if they were meant to be related. Like, part of me says they might have been like brothers, like this is the older brother. But part of me also thinks that maybe they didn't know each other, but they found each other through their similar situation. And Wolfblood was older and had more of his faculties than Wolfie, who's a bit more like an animal than a person. But Wolfblood does not have that same instinct. He's very much got the human mind with all the evils that come with it. He's got like these claws. Like this is such a deformed looking hand. I don't know if it was intentional or not. I think it was supposed to look scary. So maybe it was meant to look all weird like this, just to make it even more difficult to understand. But he has these like claws, and he's very athletic. You know, like you would expect a werewolf to be. Yeah. That's basically Wolfblood. He's just like he's not a werewolf, but he's got all he functions similarly enough to one. He's the leader of the pack that Wolfie is in, the 2-person pack. Danny Weird. So I remember showing this to people and them assuming that this was the Joker that I had redrawn. Kind of like I had another character earlier, the Purifier, who was based off of the Joker. But he's not. He's based off of a drawing of the Creeper, who was a hero. But I don't remember anything about this character besides I think I just wanted to try and I always liked the Creeper a lot. If you guys know that character, I just always thought he was interesting. He fascinated me. And this was based off of a drawing of him in one of the comics I had. And I think that's it. I drew him and I was like, well, he's weird. I'll just call him Danny Weird. But I don't think I had anything for him beyond that. I may have never used him unless I thought of something. But I don't think I did at the time have a plan or idea of who this character was. I just wanted to draw this look, and I did. I guess he's categorized back here because I went by the last name, even though I doubt that was his real last name. Zoom is. Did I have a hero named Zoom? I don't think I did. Zoom is speed based, obviously. I think he's supposed to have hair that looks like it's windblown, but I over detailed it, so it just looks like his head's on fire. But yeah, I think he was a utilitarian decision to fill a specific role for a storyline that I don't remember. Like looking at him and trying to remember, like I think he also had green and yellow clothes like Wendy did, but I don't think he was tied to Wendy in any way. I'm pretty sure he was blonde. Like that's how I remember him. But whatever storyline I made him for, where I was like, I need a speed-based villain, and obviously this was before I made all the other speed-based villains we've looked at, because I had a few. I've had quite a few different ones that were just like evil flashes. But I made Zoom to fill that role, and then later I made those other characters because I had like design ideas, I guess. Or maybe some of them had roles at the time, but I think Zoom was the first one, though. I think this was my first super speedster villain. But that's it. That's all he is. And that's it. Yeah, so all that's left here is this sketch where I was starting to draw a comic. You can see there's like a police commissioner who's just got home from work. There was going to be an establishing shot of the city. You see, I think you're supposed to see like a police badge here, so you know he's a police officer. And outside his house, but then like he's interrupted by the Shadow, because Shadow was my first villain, or my first hero. And he was going to come in and talk to... This guy is basically Commissioner Gordon. When I later adapted the same story into text, this character was made into a female to help differentiate them from Gordon. But it's just like the police commissioner of Boston, which is where Shadow's first storyline takes place, when he fights the Boston bomber. But that's literally as far as I got was these 3 panels. Because I was not cut out for drawing a comic based off of this. But yeah, that is it. We finished it. I don't know yet if this whole block of recording is going to be 1 or 2 episodes. I don't imagine it'll be more than that. But just to sign off one last time here, I really enjoyed doing this. For me, this was a lot of fun. I don't know if it's entertaining to watch. I have no idea if anyone watching this liked it. At the time I'm recording this has mostly just been shared on my Tumblr, where not many people have been watching it because nobody follows me on Tumblr. But once I start sharing this in places where I post my artwork, I expect it'll get a little bit more attention. And yeah, I have a lot more drawings and stuff lying around. If you guys liked this, let me know. I don't know if I would want to do a whole nother series like this right away, but I would not be opposed to going through more of my old crap. Because as much drawings as this is not even like a quarter of the drawings I did as a kid. And I don't have everything I drew anymore, but I do have a lot of it. And it would be fun to go through and look through it with you guys, even if I don't... None of it I will remember as well as this. I'll say right off the bat. As badly as it was where I couldn't remember certain characters or where they came from, this is the best remembered project I had from my childhood, because it was the longest running. It's the only one I worked for. Like, some of these characters, like Iceberg, I made when I was in kindergarten. Some of the characters I made when I was in college. That's how long this spanned. Nothing else I did lasted that long. That I have drawings for, except for one other project that I don't think I have the original drawings for anymore. But yeah, if you guys like this and would like to see me do something like this again, I would love to. I just have no idea if this is interesting to anyone but me. But I really enjoyed looking through these again, and I hope you did too. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you made it to this part of the series, I know this was a lot of characters to go through, and I know that I'm rambly and hard to follow sometimes because I'm just remembering shit while I'm looking at them with you. But yeah, thank you for watching, and this is goodbye. Thanks again.